I call the meeting to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, Jen had a tour of the White House today.
Nice.
Yeah,
The third,
Tracy got her in there.
the third graders had a tour of
The town.
the town hall today.
Did they?
Yeah, the actual White House, like the
Yes.
real, like
Yeah.
Washington DC.
Yeah, they're in DC right now.
I have a picture somewhere of me behind the desk in the Oval Office. Yeah, new people got into the West Wing.
Yeah.
He wasn't home, but we had fun.
Yeah, it's just being in there like.
Oh, just it's cool. It's cool.
Just cool.
And I was like,
That's like.
Yeah.
it was before
that's
cell
legit.
phones, so
Like,
it's
this
taking
is
with like a
cool,
camera,
that's
camera.
like really.
That was like, yeah, we went into the blue room and.
Oh, they
on the
went to,
podium.
they went to Arlington
Yeah.
Cemetery and they went to the Jefferson Memorial, the Lincoln Memorial, Washington Monument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a tour.
Hi, we're gonna go downstairs for the ceremony.
I was gonna come on to now.
Yeah, you called me back.
Yes,
I gotta talk about some math with you.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to call you back.
Well, I tried to call you back.
Except that you weren't accepting calls.
That's fine. We adjourned to downstairs.
What's going on?
Hi, good evening. Thank you for coming tonight for a promotional ceremony for Officer J. Diana to the position of sergeant. Our promotional process began back in the fall, which consisted of a written examination, an interview assessment center, and a review of the applicant's work history, education, experience, and training. So the results of that process produced Officer J. Diana as the top candidate for the vacant sergeant position. So Officer Diana performed extremely well during the promotional process and has all the necessary leadership skills and character traits to be successful as a frontline supervisor. Officer Diana is a resident of Upton, has been a patrol officer in Upton for a little over 2 years, had previously been employed as a police officer in the town of Hopkinton. He holds an associate's degree in criminal justice, is a certified school resource officer, and in fact, he's been filling in for SRO O'Connor during her military deployment, which has actually delayed this promotion by a few months, but it certainly helped out the department as he filled in that role. In addition to his experience and education, he has a unique ability to verbally de-escalate tense situations, and this skill will really serve him well in the future as a frontline supervisor. So what I'd like to do is I could have the town clerk come up and administer the oath of office. Jay, stand up. Step up here.
All right, it's my privilege to be here. Congratulations. All right, so I'm going to have you repeat after me. I, Jay Deanna.
I, Jay Deanna,
Raise your right hand. I do that every time, sorry. Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially
do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties incumbent upon me
discharge the duties incumbent upon me
as a sergeant for the town of Upton,
as a sergeant for the town of Upton,
according to the best of my ability and understanding,
according to the best of my ability and understanding,
agreeably to the rules and regulations of the police department,
agreeably to the rules and regulations of the police department,
the constitutions and laws of the United States,
the constitutions and laws of the United States,
and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
And under rules, regulations, and bylaws of the town of Upton,
and under rules, regulations, and bylaws of the town of Upton,
made under the authority thereof, so help me God.
made under the authority thereof, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That's for you.
Great.
You do it the whole.
Thank
Go.
you.
Oh,
Now, this gentleman come up with white. Badge on.
Thank you all.
Congratulations. I'd like to thank the town manager and board of selectmen for the support
Jay, as Jay has been an asset to the town of Buckton, we appreciate it. We look forward to working with you for many, many years. Thank you for everything. Congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I couldn't do it without all the support of Alwyn, without my chief, my lieutenant, my fellow co-workers, officers, dispatchers, sergeants. It's been a pleasure to be here and the opportunity I've been given. I can't thank this time enough.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. That's the end of our ceremony. The board's got some work to continue upstairs, so we're going to take some photographs for the family and the department. So thank you.
I'd like to resume the meeting. Next on the agenda is requests for use of Racine funds for kids at play. And we can trade. Okay, you're up. Have at it.
All right. Yeah, so Recreation is looking to ask for an additional $5,000 for the scholarship, the financial assistance program that we have in coordination with Katie as the social services coordinator. We have luckily used almost the entire $10,000 that was already given to us for this year, helping families, giving opportunities to families that otherwise probably would not be able to come at all, and definitely not to the extent that they're able to come. And we have a few more families that have already expressed interest, so we're hoping to have a little additional funding in order to help them out also. The additional funding would be an extra $5,000 for this year.
Does anybody have any questions?
I don't have any
No.
questions, just sharing a reflection of how happy I am that we've found a way to get this money into the hands of Upton residents in need, which has been a longstanding mission of the board for a long time, far predating myself, and certainly since Maureen and I have been here, and we've been talking about it a lot. So it's nice to have found avenues to distribute these funds that the Racine family put in place for this purpose. So it's great.
Okay, I think it's put to
I'm
good
glad.
use, Maria. I'm glad. Nothing like helping kids. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the select board vote to approve the request submitted by the Recreation Director and Elder and Social Services Director for $5,000 from the Racine Trust Fund to fund the financial assistance program for 2024.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Congratulations. Have at it.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Next, One Stop for Growth grant submission. Michael. Good evening.
$1 million for us.
The lottery ticket didn't hit, huh?
Mike Antonellis, Director of Land Use Inspectional Services. I don't know how much Joe has updated the board on where we are with this project already. So obviously we received, very fortunate to receive the grant funds last year, $3.6 million for the extension of sewer and water down to what will be the Governor's Landing development site. That money was dedicated by the state in the pursuit of development of those housing units. Obviously, large state goal to increase housing production statewide. So as we were engaging in discussions with the developer and finalizing, we were at 100% design for the extension, the details, the engineering of the extension of the sewer, the location of the pump station, all these things. We're just about ready to go into bid. And the DOT informed us that we may be responsible for repaving after we open up the street, the road, in order to put that infrastructure in. Now, this was obviously not expected from Ty and Bond, our consultant, who's been helping us out with this and identifying all the costs, which is what we obviously relied heavily upon when asking for the $3.6 million last year. So what I'm asking for tonight is to just provide me authorization on the board's behalf to submit an additional application to cover the difference of what we were originally granted, 3.6 million. And now what is it actually, an additional 1.6 million to cover the cost of repaving the street after opening up. Now, hopefully, if we get it, we get it, that's great. But we are also very much in contact with DOT, Representative Grady, to figure out how we can prevent even the need for me to submit a grant application tomorrow. But obviously we want to cover all our bases by submitting that grant application, but that in no way means we will stop talking to DOT and try to get this issue resolved.
Is this a curb to curb paving?
Sorry?
Is it a curb to curb paving?
Yeah.
Thought they were just gonna do the grinding.
So for us, it would be curb to curb rather than say, oftentimes, you'll see they do a partial within the roadway just for the area of infrastructure. But because this was already in a project area that MassDOT was doing, even though it's a mill and pave, it is curb to curb. So for this portion of the project, they basically said, oh, well, if you have the MassWorks, you just do the rest of it. Oh, and by the way, use high density fill rather than just regular compaction. Just following up on what Michael said, I did hear back from Senator Fatman's office this morning. They identified they did have a conversation with District 3 director, who then also had another follow-up conversation with their permitting division and indicated a willingness to sit down and meet with us. So I've reached out to that person to coordinate that meeting. So as Mike said, we are continuing. Some of this realistically, I think we'll be able to resolve, but we're submitting this MassWorks as a precaution, just in case. And, realistically, I think it makes a strong argument for us in front of MassDOT that this is a significant investment the state put in for the 3.6. And we have to remember it was a $275,000 engineering on top of that. So we're really at over 3.8 for this project. And to have such late in the game lack of a waiver that was granted for other projects, and even a project such as the community center, which they granted that same waiver, we're just trying to push that issue. But we need a backup. And that's what we're planning on submitting tomorrow.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Nope.
Okay, before we vote, I just wanted full disclosure. I am a direct abutter to Governor's Landing. This is not contingent on it, but I just wanted to disclose that before we take a vote. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the board vote to authorize the town manager to apply for funding under the One Stop for Growth MassWorks grant program for supplemental funding for the construction of roadway, water, and sewer improvements in Milford Street.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Thank you.
You?
Thank you,
Good
Mike.
luck.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Thanks for all the work on this.
Joe, you're up next with the town manager report.
Okay. We're coming into the end of the fiscal year, so not only does it mean that we're asking departments to take a look at their accounts, making sure that they're in line with their budgets, but also start to be aware of last sort of minute purchases, making sure that all the accounting invoices are processed, so we can make sure we are paying things currently and not having any prior year bills to worry about. It also coincides with annual evaluations. Staff is finishing those up. I'm 3/4 of my way through completing the evaluations for all of my direct reports. So as I told the board through an email update, this is really important as far as getting an opportunity to help strategize for the year ahead, looking at goals and setting goals for the next year. We had a brief discussion at a previous meeting about making sure that communication with the board could be facilitated on the website. We now have direct links for board members, so people can just click on your individual name and it will bring you to the form setter to email board members directly in case people wanted to reach out one-on-one versus through the board email. That's up and live. In talking to the chair of the Town Manager Act Review Committee, they're looking at finalizing their recommendations at their June 12th meeting in what will be in a form of a letter to come to the select board, so we can then proceed with meeting with them and considering some of their proposals. This evening, the Affordable Housing Trust met and discussed the 28 Hartford Ave North property. This is property that it's occupied by a abandoned single-family home that is owned by the Affordable Housing Trust. We had recently gone out and solicited requests for proposals for development of affordable housing. We got one response from Habitat for Humanity for either a single family or a duplex. The Affordable Housing Trust is going to be meeting a subsequent meeting to invite for Humanity to talk about their proposal and decide on next actions. The town is currently approaching the 50% mark for HVAC control upgrades at the fire station. Those are going to be completed in the next week and a half. Last week, the EDC had a meeting with a representative from Metro West Regional Transit Authority about the town potentially participating in a dial-a-ride service. This would be a way to expand availability for transportation services within town. I did provide a link for the board, and anyone in the public can view it on the EDC's webpage for under recent meeting materials to see their presentation. The EDC will be writing a memo to the board in support and recommending that we have a follow-up conversation with WRTA to sort of move things forward and talk about bringing that to service. Staff is also working on developing a scope of work, working with Weston Sampson for delineation of Centerbrook. This is something we've long talked about, the importance of delineating Centerbrook and the environmental areas, since that is a significant constraint and has been identified as an unknown when we've solicited proposals for Holy Angels, as well as that block of Grove Street and Milford Street. Lastly, in the upcoming edition of the Upton Mendon Free Press, Mike and I were interviewed by a reporter about the status of the project, about concerns from abutters, and also what to expect next regarding this project, because it is a state project. The state had originally told us they anticipated having 75% design hearing early 2024. We are now mid 2024. My last conversations with them really talked about end of summer, so I expect something to be happening soon, and that will give us another opportunity to get this project out in front of the residents, business owners, make sure that we have a lot of eyes on that to solicit comments for what would be the ultimate design. Last two things, just want to identify upcoming events. On June 9th, the Upton Fire EMS is holding a celebration known as Fireman Sunday. It's the 185th anniversary of the department. It's going to be at 9 o'clock at the fire station, then moving to Lakeview Cemetery for a 9:30 memorial. And then also Upton Fire EMS Association has their annual cookout. It's scheduled for June 22nd, just prior to the Upton Men's Bug Firework Festival.
All right, now, do we have any public input? Lynn? Feel free to.
Chair.
Yeah,
I just have a couple of questions on tonight's agenda items. One of them is on the Racine Building and the lease for the Racine Building. Has this been reviewed by
legal counsel for ADA requirements?
We've solicited the assistance from town council in preparation of the lease documents. We've also been working with the code department to identify any ADA improvements that are necessary, including access to the bathroom. Some of the responses are dependent on the actual use. So this is, in some ways, it's to, one, provide the board with an update as far as the process, solicit any guidance and thoughts on it so we can finalize it. And ADA is of principal concern, especially because of the investment we putting in the ramp, which was funded back in 2021, as well as any other ADA improvements that may be necessary depending on the use that actually submits a proposal.
Okay, in reviewing the documents, I noticed that, and I believe this to be true, research under ADA, if you're leasing, if the leasing, the person, the company or the municipality leasing space and the renter, if there were to be ADA improvements, it falls on both. It seemed to indicate in your document, that the improvements would be made by whoever was renting the facility. And then just want to point these out for, you know, an overview of it. And also, if whoever you lease it to has employees, we know that there's issues. They wouldn't be able to use the bathroom. They wouldn't be able to use the bathroom. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I believe it falls under Title II, and so that your documentation and all of that, because it doesn't fall under 521 CMR code, falls under a federal law. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And if in reviewing Holy Angels, an area of assembly, all of that comes into play. So just want to call it to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
ma'am.
Does anyone else have any comments?
Sure. Jim? Okay. What were you talking about when you said you were looking for like community response? It was like a whole thing about a project that you were going to be, I just didn't hear what the first probably 2 words were about what you were talking about.
It's the MassDOT's TIP project for 140, improving the whole corridor here. But basically, in January of 2023, MassDOT held the 25% design hearing.
Yep.
So then they're preparing the 75% plans, showing an update to those, so that will be another public hearing that then we're going to want to make sure the public is well aware of, make sure that we're able to facilitate public comments like we did previously, so that MassDOT can bring that into consideration as they finalize their plans.
Okay,
I don't have a date yet.
oh, okay. I don't know that.
Right.
You made it.
Yeah, Craig Blanco, 80 Road. I was just curious, with the TIP project and also with the Governor's Landing road, we're putting the pipes up the Governor's Landing. Will there be sidewalks along that stretch of road? Are we going to put in sidewalks, or are we just going to leave it?
Respond to that sidewalks are basically going to end at Brook Street. Going up that portion, there's no sidewalks that are proposed. If we weren't doing that project, Matt, the water sewer extension, the state was going to only do a mill and then repave just to improve the surface. They weren't expanding any sort of sidewalk systems.
I do wonder with the work that they're doing at the store there and the gas station and all that, there would be, if anybody would be open to extending some sidewalk from Brook Street, at least on that side of the road, just for people that are in the town center to be able to walk up to Gasco to shop. Because I know that, you know, when they came in here and did their presentation, it's gonna be sort of a local community store with, you know, penny candy and some knickknacks and gifts and things like that. So a sidewalk would sort of pull that into the walkability of downtown.
And
Just something
especially
to think
because
of.
I have been in the store in Mendon, and it is very attractive to
It's great.
children.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I would be concerned where they have redone that, if we, before we get it done.
Yeah.
If, while we're talking to the state about everything else, if they can at least add.
just
Yeah,
that,
we
just that
can-
little section.
We can raise that as a question.
I mean, it doesn't even necessarily go all the way up to Governor's Landing, although if you're putting all these housing in Governor's Landing, people there might want to walk down to the center as well. So just something to think about, you know, and
Right.
and ask about, because it certainly would benefit the town.
Okay. Does anybody have any other comments before we move on?
I was just, cause, Mike or Joe, you brought up the dial-up ride program, so if we don't have sidewalks, going up to Governor's Landing, you put up a housing facility there, I wonder if we could be tapped into the MWRTA program to offer, transportation. Governor's Landing to the downtown area. And facility.
Through the chair, that would be
Yes.
something we'd have to have ongoing discussions with MWRTA should the town decide to become an MWRTA community. You know, certainly all options are available going forward from here on out. So it's certainly something we could explore. But I can't give any definite.
Sure. That would be up to the transit authority.
When we invite them in to talk about it, that would be something that I'd anticipate we can, as a town sort of, or as a board and WRTA, talking about what services they typically do provide and what would sort of be covered. Very often the dial-a-ride is for shopping and medical appointments. You know, because essentially you're scheduling those types of things. But there's a lot of things around transportation that with Governor's Landing, as we look into the future, you know, we may want to be considering, even on the town side, so.
Does it come with a fee? Is
Hmm?
there a fee or is there?
Yes, there's always, we have an assessment we're paying. So it opens the door for service, but then
But is it like in a co-op type thing, town to town, or?
not fixed route service. So this is really then, it's on demand type of service.
This would
Right.
really be like
Yeah.
the gap. You know, if the
Yeah.
senior bus wasn't available and you knew in the future you had an appointment that you had to get to, you could, for a small fee.
Yeah.
It's cheaper than Uber. I know that. Anybody else before we move on? Okay, next are one-day liquor licenses for Rushford and Sons Brew House. I'm going to assume potentially the phone number, maybe Brian? I don't know. Do we have anyone here? Do we have anyone here to discuss this? Is this, so we just,
This is,
We've done this.
I know, we've done this annually, I just figured I'd check and make sure that, didn't want to ignore.
Together, sure.
Yeah, okay, so, does anybody have any comments or questions about it?
Not
Do I hear,
Huh?
do you have any comments or questions? Okay.
I move that the select board vote to approve the application submitted by Rushford and Sons, owner operator Brian Goodman, for a special one-day wine and malt only pouring liquor license for an event to be held, or for events to be held on June 26th, July 3rd, July 10th, July 17th, July 24th, July 31st, and August 7th, 2024, under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 14, to be held at Kiwanis Beach, Upton, Mass.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Next, Holy Angels Expression of Interest Response Discussion. Linda and Betty, if you'd like to come forward, and Matthew, thank you.
You're lost. Yeah, nice. It's an adventure. Be careful, you will take off.
Yeah, they slide.
Yeah.
Does anyone have an extra?
Yes. You have it? Okay.
All right, we did not we were under the impression that tonight, or whatever this conversation was going to be, that it would be an interview with you guys kind of bringing us questions based on what you saw in the EOI and, you know, through the website and that type of thing. So I guess maybe it sounds like that's not what's happening. So based on your first.
We can do it any way you'd like. This is,
I mean, we won't, are the only ones that contribute to it.
right, we're the only ones that have seen it. Anybody watching has not seen it. Unless they read the package.
There is that, it has been available online, if you might be able to just take a couple minutes just to provide an overview of the proposal, so that at least anyone that's in attendance or watching in the future might at least be able to understand the concept behind the proposal.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, so maybe I was thinking maybe what we could do is, maybe, within the Board of Selectmen notes, there's a link to the actual website. So, would it be possible to?
Yeah, let me pull that up.
Picture's worth 1,000 words and a website's worth, I don't know, a lot.
Yeah.
I'm taking donations.
The website is great, the concept is great, the idea is great. I know we've talked about it before and I think it's one.
Information that's, I'm sorry, I'll wait a second for.
While he's pulling that up, my name's Matt Fearon at 119 High Street. My wife and family, my wife and daughter and I, we just moved to Upton in August of this last year. So we're coming up on our first year in Upton. And we really enjoy it. And I met Craig and Linda at the Holy Angels when we opened up the Holy Angels to go in there and look at it when the EOI came out. It's such a beautiful building. And it's such a great space. I moved here from Arlington, Massachusetts, where I worked with Improv Boston in Cambridge. And we had I'm very much into the arts. I teach it. I'm the drama director at Nitlock High School as well. That fell into my lap a couple weeks after moving here. It was really, really great. So I'm entrenching myself into the town very quickly. So it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, gotcha.
So, the word venue, we decided to choose the word venue because we don't want to refer to it as Holy Angels. Making the connection to a church, because it's not a church anymore. It's now going to be a different space. So the space will essentially be a presentation area for learning, for all sorts of different types of events. Pretty much anything that will cater to the town will be this new venue experience. So the top half of the venue will be for presentations. You can have theatrical events, musical events, all sorts of different things, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. And then the basement will be for a coffee house and also for something we're referring to as littles. So little kids can play there as well. If you could scroll down a little bit, Joe. So here you can see upstairs. We have a comedy routine here displayed. So it'll be something similar to that. You can have all sorts of different types of things. And we're basing it on what we're referring to as a 19 Carter model, because there's 19 Carter up in Berlin, Massachusetts. And we're essentially, we've been attending workshops for a couple of years now with a wide array of other people in Massachusetts who have also done the same type of thing. So we're taking that and we're going to use that exact model. And actually 19 Carter actually produced a brochure where they present how to actually implement this in your own town. So we're in direct contact with E.E. Duck, who is the CEO of 19 Carter, and we're learning how to actually do this in Upton. So it's not something that we're experimenting with and doing it ourselves. This is a tried and true method of how to actually implement something like this in your own town. So it's very exciting. So this is a depiction of the downstairs where we will have a coffee shop and we'll have Wi-Fi so people can kind of stop in and feel free to use the Wi-Fi, communicate with coworkers, and also have a cup of coffee after a show. And then we will also have the backyard area where we'll have presentations. We can have bands playing in the backyard. We can have movies. We can have a big screen movie theater in the backyard. So it'll really, it's something to kind of really bring the community together, and it's in line with our 2019 visioning statement of how to make our downtown area very vibrant and kind of like a good collaborative ecosystem, working in conjunction with the community center, working in conjunction with the existing church across the street, and developing a real synergy in town to make it a more lively and beneficial community for the citizens of Upton, just to enliven our downtown area. So you can scroll down a little bit more, Joe. So what is venue? It's for theaters, it's for small bands, it's for actors, it's for comedy nights. We can also have open mic nights, which are very successful up at 19 Carter. They have open mic nights every night, or not every night, but every week. It draws on a huge crowd. So, and they already have in kind of like a baked in community. So people will be actually flocking to our venue if we have open mic nights, because they already have a community that goes to each one of these places. Yeah. So throughout Massachusetts. Yeah, you can scroll down some more. So we have more pictures.
The images that are here too. Some of these images are 19 Carter, like as kind of a just to give you the idea of the warmth and the feeling that a place like this could have.
It's real. It's not made up.
Yeah,
that's what I love. That's what I love. Yeah, exactly. Stock images that we Googled to find a picture.
I mean, some of them.
Yeah.
The image on the right hand side actually is 19 Carter. That's what you experience. Right. And the interesting thing is we have a live working model, which is 15 minutes up the road in 495. So you can actually go up there tomorrow and see what we're talking about in person. So you can actually know you can see the car before you drive it. It's like you can get in the car and actually see what the town would be investing in personally, and then you can decide if that's something you feel is suitable for the town or not. So you can actually see it in 3D living color. So so we can scroll down some more. So this is the downstairs area. We have the coffee shop, which is referred to as Cafe, and that's subject to change, but that's what we came up with. And that would be the coffee area. We might have little refreshments, and then we also have what we're referring to as a littles area for younger children, so they can have an area to play. So parents can come in, they can have area to drop off their children to play with other children, and also grab a coffee and mingle with folks at work or research projects or whatever they're doing. And we'll also have a workshop area as well. So we have workshops that can be facilitated in the downstairs area as well. And there will be a little kitchen. There actually already currently is a kitchen in the back area. So that will be an area for preparing food and coffee, things like that. So And this is the backyard area, so this is the stage. We would have a stage for local bands that want to perform poetry. We'd also have a screened area for having movie nights for families, and also a lawn area as well. You can scroll down some more. So, and this is what the calendar of events will look like. So like 19 Carter, we'll have a similar website where we have a calendar of events. So we'll have the day listed, the event, the description of the event, and when the event will occur. Some of these events will be free and some of them will be paid events, which will benefit the 501c3. It'll be a nonprofit, but it'll be funds collected will go into reinvesting into venue operations, so we can pay staff workers and things like that. We'll also have, we'd also like to have like a mini chamber of commerce in the front of it, so that people who are coming to Upton for the first time can get brochures and they can talk to somebody, and we can tell them about all of the different aspects of Upton that they can enjoy, like the state forest and bicycling and the Heritage Park and different things like this. So it'll be an informative place to come and visit and find out about Upton as well. So again, we'll have more workshops and various things. I know the Historical Society is always having different events and having people come and talk. So if they need a venue, they could use the venue for a place to present their information, things like that. And you can scroll down some more. So Tails, more activities. You can scroll. Yep.
Rental space. And like using it as a rental space as well, so you're opening up to other people that might be, coming into the community for the first time that might want to rent a room.
Yeah. And you can keep scrolling, Joe. Yep. And so this is kind of a taste or a flavor of our idea and where we want to go. I know you might be thinking in the back of your mind, we've had lots of ideas about what we can do with the church. Everyone has an idea. So this is one more idea. We feel it's very fleshed out and it's rooted in reality, because we have this 19 Carter model and we have someone to rely on to go to for help and guidance for this. So it's a more fleshed out idea than other ideas that that may have been proposed. But we would like, so this is like the what, this is what we're presenting. But we also have a strategic plan of how we would like to see this move forward in reality. It involves setting up a 501c3, it involves fundraising. And this is kind of like the how this would actually happen. So we're kind of going to break it down into different phases. This is a high level, it's subject to change, but this is kind of how we're presenting it at this stage, and this is how we see it as a vision. So the phase one, we're referring, so there's three general phases that I kind of conceptualize in my mind. There might be some sub phases as well. The phase one is the startup phase. So during the startup phase, Venue will be developing a 501c3. Venue will be fundraising, and we have maybe a goal, but it's a big goal. It's not set in stone, but we want to raise around $20,000. And the raising this money kind of shows the town that this 501c3 has skin in the game. We're going to fundraise, and if the citizens of Upton are willing to dedicate their own funds to seeing this come to fruition, that kind of shows buy-in from citizens in town. They have skin in the game, we have skin in the game, and we have funds to actually fund the operations of the 501c3. So also during the startup phase, the building will need to get fixed up to the point where we can accept people into the building, so we can actually utilize the building publicly. It's a safe environment for children and public at large. So that will be part of the startup phase. So we get to the point where the 501c3 has raised a certain amount of funds so that we can operate on a perpetual basis. And we have the building up to a level that can accept people into the actual building. Then, yeah. Yes.
I think we need to transition to this. And then those existing citizens, what you're indicating.
Okay.
I know what you're saying, I know you do.
Yeah.
But I think it's.
Should we?
I just, sorry. I think we're going to do, you know, so
Do you want to speak to that?
I think we're going to go this far, which I think maybe we're good. I think that's
Okay.
maybe.
Okay,
And
so,
then maybe come back to this one.
okay, so I think what Linda's saying is, so the first part of this presentation, I presented the idea of what this is. So you kind of had that idea. It's the 19 part developed in town. There's another phase of this, which is the how. How do we actually implement this? Which is probably of interest to the board of selectmen, because that's kind of back in your mind, how is this actually going to work in reality, right? That it's kind of a larger conversation, and we would like to have a back and forth conversation. So maybe we could schedule a time where we have a little bit more time to have an we'll present the how of how we'll actually implement this, and we can have like a back and forth conversation between the board of selectmen. We can answer your questions and kind of develop a general idea of how you feel about it and maybe steps going forward.
I think that's a great idea, because I really like the idea, but it's the nuts and bolts. So for example, my questions were gonna be is, you spoke about the CEO of 19 Carter. Who's gonna be the CEO? Who's gonna be running it? Who's gonna pay for those repairs? Who are gonna get the estimates, the contractors? I mean, the building is a very long way away to making it safe for people in there.
Yeah, that's the information.
That's the information, maybe it might be best, I know Joan, Brett and Maureen may have some questions, maybe a workshop would be appropriate. Do you either want to do questions?
Are you looking for a public-private partnership?
It would be a public-private partnership.
And I do have a document to send you that has an outline. But I really wanted to hear your questions so that we're gonna give you this, which is a big, it's kind of the flesh out before we sit down and start talking a little bit more about it. But I think, I just wanted to have questions so that we knew.
I was gonna say, what if we just sort of throw out any initial questions like you
Yeah.
just did, and not to get answered, but just to know
Yes.
as sort of what we
That
think
would
the
be
next steps are.
Yeah,
You said basement. Are you putting a floor, is that the downstairs?
and downstairs, that is.
In the old basement?
Yeah.
The lower level. What do you think?
What are your thoughts about
The mold and water and.
that? Will all have to be addressed before anyone can come in the building. It has to.
Asbestos.
Yeah, that too.
The mic,
It
they're gonna have to be
has to be,
relocated.
it has to be,
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
it has to be,
Yes.
acceptable to the public.
I mean, it's a building that's been vacant for a couple of years, so there's gonna be a lot of work to bring it back. But I think based on everything we know, it's salvageable in
Oh,
a
yeah.
very reasonable way. And so what's there is,
And have you thought about how the new roundabout and the TIP project is gonna affect the parking? Because you realize that the road in front of Puddle and Thumb will be no longer.
We don't
Okay,
shared parking will satisfy the needs of the building.
okay, and including handicap spots?
Yeah. Handicap spots, yep. And it goes at ADA, 100% ADA friendly.
It's gonna have to be, because it's gonna be done, more than a certain percentage.
Oh, yeah, no.
And we have ideas for a lift, which 19 Carter has. It's a
Yeah.
quasi inexpensive way of,
We just need their questions.
okay.
Good.
Well, I know United Parish has a lift, so I know what you're talking about.
Well, there's
Good, I
there's
like that.
there's also one right here too.
It's very
There's
sophisticated.
lots of ways to make it ADA
Yeah.
accessible, which is critical.
So yes, we're.
So yes, so like construction, parking, construction.
Yeah.
Who you think would pay for what?
Yeah.
You know, the feasibility, obviously, it's nice having 19 Carter, because you have a living, breathing model, and I'm sure they can prevent you from stepping in the potholes they stepped in.
Yes.
Because every project does.
Great mentors, and they were here when we did the walk.
Yeah.
And it's not just 19 Carter, like 19 Carter helps all these different places. And there's the Arts of the Armory in Hudson. And there's so many, we went to a like a symposium, I think, of all these different nonprofits that are using kind of the 19 Carter model. And it was a day of just like, they would get up and they would show kind of what they were doing in their buildings and everything. And yeah, if anything, it told us it was a long road to hoe, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Like things that
We're not only community facing an opportunity like this, and that's
Yeah.
really what this is. And lots of people are, like 19 Carter, much further ahead of us, and there are some that will follow us. And it's a great journey and lots of enthusiasm and opportunity.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
And they have an annual workshop, so if you are interested in attending it next year, you're quite welcome.
What other questions?
You have a lot of space that you want filled in there. Can you still put all of that in that same footprint?
Yes, these almost, it's easily half the size bigger than 19
Okay.
Carter. It's a significant amount of space, and it does allow us a lot of latitude to evolve. So, you know, Matthews has an incredible well of knowledge and ability, and his story is around teaching, whether it's comedy or drama or music. Greg has a music background. We have the potential to tap into so much of what turns people on. We have a STEAM agenda, you know, we have just a lot of different things that we can throw it out into the group, into the community and neighboring communities and say, what feels like something you want to do more than once or more than once? And that may mean that, you know, Matthew has got an improv group of 7-year-olds, or he's got an improv group of 60-year-olds. 2-year-olds.
Yeah.
But, you know, that it can be where we're guided. And not only because of the space, but also because, you know, we've got a pretty amazing talent pool in Upton of artists and, you know, authors and photographers. And we're just, you know, we've got a lot to, you know, to feed into this type of an entity, of a venue. What else?
Well, like I said, I like the idea.
Yeah.
It's a great presentation. We need the nuts and bolts.
Yeah. So
So the more you can provide,
I'm gonna give you something, we're gonna give you something today, okay, to take home. This is still, how we think about this is, in the case you didn't want to just ask us questions, here's what we have to give you, but we definitely want you to look at it and read it and say, okay, we're not set on one idea, we're fluid, but we also know that we do have some things that we need from the partnership that are, that'll be your part. And anyway, so I think it defines it enough, but then if you have questions, please don't look at it and say, yeah, these guys,
I mean, obviously, it's a work in progress.
yes, it's working,
Because
it's a discussion.
guidance, you don't know where you're going.
And I think this is a pretty good nuts and bolts thing for you to.
I saw them stand up.
I just have one to the chair, one thing to interject, Linda, Mass Cultural to ask the town if they want to do something in this This way, we would become a cultural district, like Needham, do that type of area. Where it would become a cultural district, then there's mass cultural funding for facilities that, so just to get that information.
Thank you. I sent Matthew there because I had been on there and it's a lot to digest. And, yeah, he was really excited about,
There is, you can reach out, there's a representative, you can reach out to, I can give you the information. Your content, just say that.
no, that's not, that we wrote their names in here as being a target. Because they are such a great resource. Yes. All questions?
Awesome, thank you so
Well,
much.
I will
Take the,
lower level concerns, construction,
just
management.
nuts and management, how do you envision funding, who pays for what, the nuts and the bolts, to get down to dirty details.
This is the start.
And totally understanding that it is a work in progress and you may need to do a 360. I get it.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully not, but do like a 360, like we might be thinking this, we might be thinking something else. It's fluid, yes, we understand that. All right. Do you have any more you'd like to present or?
Is the board open to having maybe a workshop or we can discuss the strategic?
You can reach out to Joe and we'll talk about a schedule and we'll get you in front of us. You know, a lot of times a workshop is a dedicated time just for the subject versus the agenda that can be in flux. Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you for,
Thank you.
enthusiasm, as much as we can be enthusiastic about something that is so abstract.
Be a light at the end of the tunnel, right?
What?
There'll be a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, it's a bright light for us because it's so exciting. There's so much creativity in it. Finding Craig, goldmine of a human, but finding Matthew who's so, I saw him in a play. It changed my life. Honestly, and it was the worst. It's the worst environment I've ever done anything, including like going to McDonald's, that play thing with the balls when the kids were. It was the worst space. It was the best theater I've ever seen. I'm not kidding you, that's how good it is. So we're really lucky and thank you for your time.
Thank you for
Really
coming.
appreciate it.
Presentation.
Okay, next on the agenda is review of the Racine RFP and lease documents.
So in the board's packet, you have the current draft. Michael and town council have been working on it. Understanding that we're gonna want to loop back with town council on ADA provisions.
It is because it's 50-50, both 50%. I know for a fact it's 50% with the town, 50% with the leasing.
Yeah, because that is something specifically we talked with town council about, understanding that there would be improvements that would be necessary to comply with ADA, so we'll double back with them on
Depending
that.
on what's in there, may or may not be necessary. But it is, if things change in the future, it's something we should be aware of and be.
So, because it's lots of ideas and up and down. This lease is intended on basically being, or envisioned, not intended, on being a year-to-year lease to basically get the building occupied, support a local business that maybe needs more space, or even to provide incubator space for business that someone else comes forward and wants to submit. This is not looking for, very often when you're leasing space, you're looking for 3, 5, or year lease because there's a level of investment. So this is really identified as more of a short term because ultimately the town still needs to have the conversations like we are about Holy Angels. What is the long-term plan for that building? Maintenance, any sort of improvement. So per the town meeting vote, it's basically to get an occupant in there. Right now, the only occupants are the museum and the cable studio. So
The one thing I saw that I sort of was struck by was the preference being given to someone to rent the entirety of the space. Does that just mean the entirety of the first floor? Okay. Just wanted to make sure it wasn't the whole building, because obviously we need to.
No, we don't.
Okay.
We then would be soliciting
Yeah, no,
requests to then place a museum in
Well,
the campus.
like before yeah, we've said consistently forever that we will not, we will only help the museum find a better home if we ever displace them from this home. So I didn't want to accidentally think that we were ending up there, or have someone misinterpret that language meant that the whole space was the whole building. It's just that first floor that's been vacated by the libraries. Otherwise, it looked great to me. I'm happy to
Any comment?
support it.
Yeah, it looks good. I think we're heading in the right direction. Do we have an anticipated time zone?
We'll have to touch base with town council on specifically the ADA issue, and then I'll be able to provide the board with a better update as far as what we're looking for time.
When? Through the chair.
Absolutely.
Joe, so we have a variance from the Architectural Access Board to use the parking lot across the street. We have a variance for that.
My understanding is that's still in place. Because it
Okay.
supported the library.
But it's change of use, that's why that's the only reason I'm asking, you change your use.
And that's a,
Change of use.
yeah, that's a good point. We'll follow up on that, because at least the ownership isn't changing, it's still being used for a municipal
Correct.
purpose. But we'll follow up on that.
Because it's gonna be used as commercial, it's commercial application.
Good thing we haven't restriped the lot yet.
Excuse me?
No, I would say good thing we haven't restriped the lot for painting any potential handicap parking spaces.
So
that
you
we
know,
find,
it's
so.
one handicap parking space, if it joins with this one accessible space, 50-1 ratio, yes, so it would be good.
Yeah, it's great.
Any other comments? Linda?
In terms of the Milton receiver, I think that we have a real opportunity to bring something else besides vending to the center of town. The construct that you're talking about, I think, has one potential tenant who I feel like is not. That circumstance does not offer the same opportunity that another business might, that actually has a huge impact in terms of how people think about the town, why people come to the town, excitement around the town, constant traffic in terms of, people walking in on the door, going to get lunch, grab your coffee. There's just so much synergy in communities that do this. And we have a candidate who is interested in pursuing this opportunity. Mike met with her. I, brought her to the community as a potential tenant. The business model is a multi-vendor vintage antique shop. You see them everywhere. The demand continues to be huge. For someone who wants to have a store, it's a very, very low entry dollar point. So what I would like to have you build into your framework is how to draw a very attractive income from a business that will draw people. They're just unbelievable the way that they bring people into a community, and how much excitement they bring, and the whole synergy around all the other businesses that are similar. And this tenant, and I spoke with a number of different potential tenants, is a perfect example because she's someone who has managed a business like that for 20 years. She's been herself a vendor in a number of different places in the region. And it's just really a different way of thinking about that one floor than putting someone in there for a year and then revisiting it the next year and the next year. A very viable tenant with a real income who's actually just bringing something to the town. I mean, David. And I want you just to think about that as being something that is a real opportunity versus I don't know, some sort of stopgap, just to, put someone in there. I know that Mick is very interested in doing a number of things. I personally had a conversation with him. I think that his concept of being someone who people love in the community waned with, everything that started to happen on the front porch a long time ago. So I think I just want you to maybe think less about that situation, his needs, and more about what can we do there that could be really exciting, leverage us in terms of, income stream, not including anything plus going on upstairs, but actually has the potential to keep quite a bit more in that building than just where everything is.
Thank you very much. And that's what the purpose of their RFP is. We'll see who comes in. So thank you for your comments. I appreciate it.
There's an RFP.
This is what we're looking.
So we cannot enter into a lease agreement directly. We have to put out an RFP to solicit proposals for people that want to lease the space. And again, the board doesn't, you could get 20 respondents, 5, board is not required to enter into a lease.
Exactly. Well, this is our throwing our feelers out to see what happens, but we have a lot on our agenda tonight. We're not even halfway through, so I'm going to move on to the next item. So thank you. I know. No, I love the comments, but
We need a motion.
Can I make a motion?
yes, please make a motion.
I move that the board vote to authorize the town manager to finalize and advertise the request for proposals for the lease for the first floor of the Ristine building as proposed.
All in favor?
I,
Unanimous. Next is review of the select board scholarship policy and application. Thanks, Michael.
thank you, Mike.
We went through some of this when we were doing the scholarships, our last meeting. I think we need to just kind of revisit everything. We need to make sure that the trust funds are there. I also, as I said,
What do you mean?
well, if you look at the language, it says right in it, like the Gary Bates and there's another one, and I'm drawing a blank. Oh, the Ramsey Scholarship. It says to make sure that the monies are in there or the numbers have to change. Before we voted, I didn't see the numbers. So I'd like to, moving forward, I'd like to ensure before we award scholarships that there are appropriate funds. That's what I meant by, and I'd also like to revisit because it said, I asked a couple of people and I know Gary was a Vietnam vet who came home and passed, but like, if we're going to, who was he? What specifically was that scholarship funded for? I think we've lost some details over the years. And that's like the Ramsey Scholarship, I don't know if all of them are to do with people going into public service or what, but I think we need to clarify a little bit. I think we've just lost some details over time. The other thing I'd like to do too is, so just about every application from Nipmuc said they were X out of 143 kids. Nipmuc graduated either 150 or 152 Saturday night. So I'd like to actually ask that we get an official transcript versus a self-reporting where they stand. Because the Bloomer girls do that, and right on the top of the paper, it gives their standing. Sees their grades, because I think it's important if somebody wasn't doing great freshman year, but they've knocked it out of the park by senior year. And potentially, one of the things the Bloomer girls do is it's a voluntary question, but it's what's the family income and how many children and how many people are in college. We had 18 applications, which was wonderful, but it was hard to sort out the details. So I don't know how everyone else feels.
I think that's all fine. For $500 scholarships, I wonder how onerous we want to make the process of applying for the scholarship.
And right in the scholarships, it says we could change them. So it says a maximum of 6. So we could do 3 1,000s.
Yeah.
And even the $200, I mean, my son's in college. I don't think he had a book that cost only $200.
Totally agree. Yeah.
So I think I'd like to
We could
see
do
the numbers and revisit.
Fewer, more impactful scholarships. Obviously honoring the original intent of the scholarships that were set up.
Mhm.
Absolutely makes sense. So I'm a big fan of that and
Yeah.
you know, I don't know how easy or hard it is to include a transcript in an application or not, but I am just mindful that whatever the application process is, you know, to your point about sort of resources, right? There's people who are financially resource constrained, and there's other people that are constrained for administrative time to do things, free time to do things like fill out financial aid applications, right? So you want to try to, there's a balance between accessibility to being able to apply and also our ability to do the due diligence to make sure we're selecting the best and most qualified
I
candidates.
honestly think the transcript can be printed off of whatever the program is, because I know I used to look at my sons.
Yeah.
Also should get them a little bit earlier so that they can get printed with.
Yeah, I mean, we should just have like a timeline, right? Like, okay.
Yeah, a little earlier than what we got.
Now knowing, right, because we had sort of, like you said, it's always been done the same way. We just sort of got them and checked them and that was the thing. Like if we take another look at it, part of it is like, okay, so when do we look at the balances? When do we have a meeting to decide how many scholarships and for how much?
Right.
And when do we expect to get the applications? What do we, here's the revision of what the application.
Yeah, I think the applications were due after April vacation, and honestly, maybe right before. Or maybe, you know, and yet give a 7-day grace period so that whatever the Friday is, they're due, and then they'll probably trickle in that week. Yeah, but that maybe we should put it on agenda item for towards the end of the year, just to nail the details, because then we'll see what are in the funds. Maybe we can reduce and increase.
Yeah, I mean, that's where not knowing the balance, not knowing if based on, say, the revenue that is coming in for being expendable, maybe that's been growing. Maybe in 2012, when they sent those, maybe we've been growing money faster than we've been spending. So maybe that should be revisited.
Since there were many years that we had less applications than we had scholarships, potentially, so. Let's put that on, let's put it on choice, the end of the year, you know, maybe November, December.
Well, some of this is going to involve coordination with the schools, and in a week, they're going to be out. The staff is going to disappear for a couple of months. By then, we'll have hopefully a new person in my office, and then that'll be a good thing to start tasking them with and reaching out to the schools to collect information. So.
Yeah, and do we have the original trust documents?
They should be.
I believe we do.
Or people who know, sort of, right? It's like I'm on another memorial scholarship board unrelated to even Upton, right? And we sort of have a relationship with the school where they know why we have the award. Every year when we issue the award, we talk about the reason for the scholarship. It's memorial, it's for this reason, it's looking for these kinds of candidates.
Yes.
So I'm sure these were set
Yeah,
up
'cause
with that
they were-
same spirit.
Exactly,
So
I think
that's sort
somewhere
of
it got
lost. Like it's got a name and a number, but there's
There
no
is,
description of.
There are wills and documents that state what the trust funds are set up for. Who's the keeper in Upton? Treasurer collector or the trust fund?
I believe it's trust fund commissioners.
But we can find them. We'll just
We'll find
get them and look at them as part of this review process.
Yeah.
We should have a packet of like, let's look at the trust documents, let's look at the balances, let's look at the timeline and have it all in front of us and just decide what to do.
All on the same page? Yep,
I'm
I don't
with you.
think we need a motion. Joe know what he's gonna
We
do.
don't have
Good.
All right, so next, police chief search. There you go, Kate. And we're devastated we even need to do this, but we are
I don't
very
even
thrilled
know
for
if I
you.
should be talking to you.
A little saddened by it myself.
Yeah, double-edged sword. Happy for you, but very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
So you're not going anywhere. You're not going far, so we know how to find you. So we can hunt you down.
As you know, on May 17th, I gave my retirement notice to the town manager. I am retiring after 30 years service, 16 years as chief, and I've been offered and have accepted the executive director's position, Massachusetts Chiefs of Police Association.
Yeah, we truly are thrilled for you.
So that brings us to the discussion of final.
So the chief and I have been talking quite regularly about this process, and I provided a hard copy of sort of a memo that summarizes the selection process. And fortunately, the association that the chief is going to be heading, they are typically the association that also helps towns when we're looking for police chiefs as well and interim. So it's a great resource.
Can we get on that list? Did you get some help? Do you know anyone?
I do have a vested interest in making sure that there's somebody here to keep the ship steady until you find a program. So we offer that service to many towns. We have obviously close relationships with recently retired chiefs that would be a good fit for.
So we talked about like the typical police chief search starts while it can be done locally within the town. The growing trend is really to use a consultant to assist with those services, but also mainly because the assessment center is an integral component because it really provides a real means of getting situational approaches, personalities, how people communicate so that we can have a really good idea as far as how that person will fit into that process. It takes time. I verified with town council, it is a service that is not, it is a service that is not exempt from 30B. So we do have to follow procurement requirements and laid out just a very brief timeline as far as what I think we can do to put something on the street for getting deadlines and then for awarding contracts. And that's just then to start the search process too. And you know, the as you know, with town manager process and timelines are fairly similar. You're looking at a 2 to 3 month process. So you're going to need to really look at some form of interim because we do have a date for the chief. And I know they're really excited to get him on board. So we don't have the flexibility to move that date, but we do need to continue operations. And again, as the chief said, there are resources that Mass Chiefs Association is able to provide for recently retired chiefs who could fill in on an interim basis. And you know, you are looking at a potential 3, of course, don't think 6 months, but you're in excess of 3 months where we would need some. I've asked the HR director to start pulling together an advertisement and to talk to the chief as far as what necessary things are for posting to try to get someone on board. Because realistically, with July 4th, with people's vacations, these next 2.5 months are going to fly by. So we want to really jump on these two things concurrently because you know, basically in the month of July, we're bringing on board firm and we're hopefully identifying an interim police chief because we don't know what kind of notice they may have, or they may have a scheduled vacation that we need to work. So
good news, if there is any, is that, August 16th is the date that I set, which is my 90-day notice. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here to help the town, help through this process. As long as it is. What's that?
Can you knock on your door over
Yeah,
there?
it'll only be 4 miles away.
Nice.
The office.
Oh, you shouldn't have told us that.
And it's not a deviation, really too much of a deviation for me to hit there on the morning of going in or heading out. So there's many different knocks that could be going on in the store.
Part of my job is to make sure that police chiefs are successful across the state, so I'll definitely be a resource forward as well.
State's lucky to have you in that role.
Yes. A testament to your character and all the years of service and integrity. We appreciate it. Okay, so, do I hear a motion?
I.
You did the
Would you
last.
like to read?
Yeah.
I've got it up if you need it.
Get there. It says, the discussion. Hold on. Oh, yeah, let me read yours. Here we go. I move that the board vote to authorize the town manager to prepare a request for quotes for consultant services to support the police chief search process, including conducting an assessment center.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Discussion of meeting agenda topics and priority projects. Getting late. Do we want to do this or do we want to skip over it? I don't know how involved it is.
Skipping it, which I left yesterday, but
Yeah. We do. Okay, we'll put
we
that on.
talked
for
about
another
some of the priority projects tonight, so.
We did, so we'll skip that. Do we have any?
I was hoping to get some off of my draft plate, but I didn't have a chance to send them out, so I'll send those out this week to then at least get them into your inbox.
Yes, now we're cooking the gas. Now enter into executive session. Do I hear a motion to enter into executive?
I move that the select board vote to enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, exceptions number 2, to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel, town manager, and public safety director, and Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, subsection A, subsection 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general law requirements pursuant to open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section 22, subsection F and G, F, G, and I, for consideration of the releases of the executive session minutes. Roll call vote.
Second the motion,
Roll call vote.
Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Brent Simus, aye.
Laura Hebard.